Why he's married but still can't let you go. 3 in the morning. Your cell phone lights up in the dark. It's him again. I need to see you. Just one more time. You know you should block, delete, forget. But something inside you whispers, if he comes back, if he searches, if he can't stay away, maybe it means something, right? Wrong. And this is where the danger of this illusion lies. Why doesn't a married man who has sworn commitment, who has a whole life built alongside someone else, just can't let go? It's not love. It is not destiny. And it's definitely not because you're too special to be forgotten. The truth is much darker and more fascinating than your romantic mind wants to accept. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 8 dark psychological mechanisms that bind this man to you, even when he's supposed to be focused on his marriage. Get ready. What you will discover can completely destroy the fantasy you have been nurturing, but only the naked truth can free you from this emotional trap. 1. The adrenaline addiction that marriage no longer offers. His brain is addicted to you in the same way that a gambler is addicted to casino. Every secret message, every hidden meeting, every well-told lie triggers a chemical discharge so potent that no family dinner or bedside conversation can compete. We are talking about dopamine at stratospheric levels, that pleasure neurotransmitter that transforms behaviors into compulsions. When you meet, his body goes into a state of high alert. The heart races. The pupils dilate. There is the real danger of being discovered, and it does not drive you away. It excites you deeply. It's like skydiving every week while pretending to live a normal office life. The emotional intensity of this clandestine roller coaster creates a chemical dependency in the nervous system that stable marriage simply cannot reproduce. His official relationship has already entered that predictable comfort zone. He knows exactly how she's going to react, what they're going to have for dinner on Friday, what series they're going to watch on the weekend. The routine killed the suspense. And the human brain, especially the male brain, is programmed to seek novelty and challenge. You represent the unpredictable, the forbidden, the exciting. Every interaction with you is a peak of intensity that he no longer finds at home. But here's the dirty trick to this dynamic. It doesn't need you specifically. He needs the feeling you provide. You could be replaced by anyone else willing to participate in this clandestine theater. What addicts you is not who you are, but the altered state of consciousness that this situation produces. It is the adrenaline of the lie well told to the wife. It's the thrill of deleting messages quickly. It's the rush of living 2 parallel lives. Marriage offers stability, predictability, security. Important, mature, essential things to build a real life. But all of this is boring for a brain that seeks constant stimulation. You are the recreational drug he uses on the weekends while maintaining functional life during the week. And like any addict, he will come back whenever abstinence hits, not because you are irreplaceable, but because his brain is conditioned to seek that specific chemical dose that only the forbidden can deliver. As long as you fantasize that this compulsion means deep love or special connection, you're feeding the vicious cycle. He can't let you go because his brain reward system is hijacked by this dynamic. And you, by continuing to be available, are the supplier that keeps the addiction active. 2. You are the mirror of his wounded ego. Within every married man who seeks something outside of marriage, there is a deep narcissistic wound that has never completely healed. And you, unknowingly, have become the perfect emotional band-aid to cover this crack in his ego. Every time you answer the phone, every time you accept to see him, every time you forgive another absence, you are confirming to him a distorted but irresistible truth. He still has power, he is still desirable, he can still conquer. Marriage, over the years, has a cruel way of revealing our limitations. The wife knows all the defects, all the weaknesses, all the failures. She has seen him fail in projects. She knows when he lies. She knows the insecurities he hides from the world. That's real intimacy, but it's also a relentless mirror that reflects all the imperfections he'd rather not see. You, on the other hand, only know the edited version of it, the version he chooses to show. With you, he can pretend to be the man he's always wanted to be, not the man he really is. You can talk about dreams you abandoned years ago as if they were still real plans. You can act as an experienced seducer, even though you are insecure and confused. You believe in the performance because you don't have access to the backstage of his life. This contrast feeds into something deeply pathological in the wounded male ego. At home, he is ordinary, flawed, human. With you, it can be extraordinary, fascinating, irresistible. His admiration works like a drug that anesthetizes all the pains of ruined self-esteem. You look at it like it's special, and that makes up for all the stifling normalcy of marriage. The dark issue here is that you are not loving or being loved by a real human being. You're serving as an audience for a fantasy he created about himself. Every compliment from him, every demonstration that he matters, every tear when he disappears, all of this feeds the illusion of grandeur that he needs to keep going. Without you, he would have to confront the naked reality. He is just an average man, with ordinary problems, living an ordinary life. He can't let you go because you're the only place where the fantasy version of him still exists. You are the stage where he can still act as the protagonist of his own story, while at home, he is just another supporting actor tired of his own life. And as long as you keep reflecting this distorted image back to him, you will remain trapped as a mirror of a narcissist who never had the courage to look at his own real reflection. If you feel he still holds a place inside you and you're ready to understand what that connection was truly trying to teach, you'll find your answer inside the Jung Method. Link pinned below. 3. The unhealthy need for constant validation. There is an emotional black hole inside him that no amount of attention can completely fill. And you, naively, keep throwing affection, time, and energy into this bottomless abyss, hoping that one day it will be enough. It won't be. It was never about quantity. It is about the psychological illness that transforms external validation into emotional oxygen. Men like this grow up with a chronic sense of insufficiency. Perhaps the father never said he was proud. Perhaps the mother compared it to more successful brothers or cousins. Perhaps experiences of rejection in adolescence created a wound that never closed. Regardless of the origin, the result is the same. An adult who needs constant confirmation that he has value, that he is desired, that he matters. Marriage, in the beginning, met this need. His wife looked on with admiration, celebrated small achievements, made him feel important. But over time, as with any long-term relationship, admiration turns into familiarity. She stops complimenting basic things, stops being impressed by ordinary gestures, and this emotionally ill man interprets this not as the natural maturity of the relationship, but as personal rejection. So he looks for a new source of validation. You. And it works perfectly at first. You are impressed by things that your wife considers normal. You praise aspects of it that have already become invisible at home. You give him that focused, admiring attention he was desperate to receive. Finally, someone sees him as extraordinary again. But here's the trap. That need is never satisfied. The more you validate, the more it needs validation. It's like feeding a monster that only grows with each meal. Because the problem is not in the lack of external recognition. It is in his internal inability to validate himself. He cannot feel that he has value unless someone else confirms it repeatedly. Do you notice the pattern? When he doesn't talk to him for a few days, he reappears in despair. Not necessarily because you miss them as a person, but because the source of validation has temporarily dried up. He needs to confirm that he can still attract you, that he still has power over you, that he is still wanted. Every return of it is not love. It is an emotional child checking if the favorite toy still works. And the wife? It also serves this need, but on another layer. Having a wife confirms that he is a family man, responsible, capable of commitment. Having you confirms that you are still attractive, seductive, capable of conquering. He can't let go of either, because each validates different aspects of his fragmented ego. As long as you remain available for this unhealthy dance, you will remain the emotional fuel of someone who never learned to be enough. 4. The pathological fear of facing the inner emptiness. It runs from you, but it always comes back. He promises to finish but reappears. He swears that he will change, but repeats the cycle. It is not indecision. It's pure terror of being alone with one's thoughts. You are the noise that drowns out the deafening silence of his empty existence. When he is with his wife, he is distracted by the routine. When he is with you, he is distracted by the intensity. What he can't stand is being with himself. Many people confuse loneliness with being physically alone. But the inner emptiness we're talking about here is something much deeper and more frightening. It is that moment in the early hours of the morning, when all distractions are over and the person is forced to confront who they really are. For someone who has never developed a consistent inner life, this is terrifying. This man has probably never been to serious therapy. He never sat quietly to process difficult emotions. He never developed hobbies or interests that did not involve external validation. It is an empty shell that needs to be constantly filled by external stimuli: work, family, television, social media, and you. Everything serves to avoid the terrible encounter with one's own emptiness. Just as he's about to leave you for real, something strange happens. He begins to feel a growing anxiety, almost a panic. It's not romantic nostalgia. It is the dread of losing another distraction tool. Because if he loses you, he'll have to deal with extra hours of loneliness. And loneliness, for those who have never cultivated inner wealth, is unbearable. Then it comes back. Not because you are special, but because the fear of emptiness is greater than any resolution to change. The wife also functions as a distraction from emptiness, but in a different way. With it, it is the distraction from the comfortable routine, from the predictable obligations, from the established social role. With you, it's the distraction of novelty, of challenge, of excitement. Together, the two of you take up 100% of his emotional time, ensuring that there is never room for him to confront the person he has become. Emotionally healthy people can be alone without despair. They are able to reflect, grow, get to know themselves. They have a rich inner life that does not depend on a constant audience. This man did not. He needs to always be in relationship with someone because his identity only exists in the reflection of the gaze of others. Without an audience, it ceases to exist. And that's terrifying. You may be thinking that if you love him enough, you will fill that void. It won't. No one can. Because his emptiness is not a lack of external love. It is a lack of internal structure. It is the absence of purpose, of self-knowledge, of courage to face one's own shadows. As long as he uses you as an emotional anesthetic, he will never develop the ability to be whole alone. And you, by remaining available, become an accomplice in his psychological stagnation. 5. The illusion of control over two parallel realities. He wakes up in the morning in the marital bed, kisses his wife, has breakfast with the children, goes to work as an exemplary family man. In the afternoon, he texts you planning the next secret meeting. At night, he returns home, watches television with his wife, sleeps peacefully. He manages to inhabit two completely different worlds without one contaminating the other. And that, for a certain type of male personality, is intoxicating. It's not love for either. It is the illusion of being God, creator and controller of parallel universes. He decides when each reality exists, when they overlap, when they separate. With his wife, he activates the persona of a responsible husband. With you, it activates the persona of a passionate lover. And this ability to move between identities without guilt or internal conflict fuels a sense of power that is highly addictive. Think of the childish fantasy of having superpowers. For this man, being able to keep two women in different orbits without either of them fully discovering the truth is just that, a social superpower. He is smarter than everyone. He achieves what other men only fantasize. He feels superior because he masters a level of complexity that most would not be able to manage. Each well-told lie reinforces this illusion of control. When he makes up an excuse for his wife and she believes it, he feels a surge of satisfaction. When he manipulates his schedule to fit a date with you without arousing suspicion, he feels brilliant. It's not about loving two women. It's about demonstrating skill in manipulating multiple narratives simultaneously. The problem is that this control is completely illusory. At any time, a message can appear on the wrong screen. A perfume can give away. One forgotten detail can crumble the entire house of cards. But he doesn't think about it. Control addicts never think about the moment when everything will come crashing down. They focus only on the sense of power of the present moment. You represent an essential part of this fantasy of omnipotence. Without you, he loses half the game. It loses the complexity that makes everything exciting. He goes back to being just another ordinary husband leading a linear and predictable life. And this, for someone addicted to the illusion of controlling multiple realities, is unacceptable. He can't let you go because you're a key piece on his chessboard. Not because you are irreplaceable as a person, but because your existence is necessary to keep the fantasy going. And as long as you accept to be a piece in this game, you will remain trapped in a secondary role in the fantasy of omnipotence of a man who confuses manipulation with intelligence and betrayal with power. Curse 6. You represent youth and lost possibilities. When he looks at you, he doesn't see who you really are. He sees the young version of himself, that person full of dreams who has been buried under layers of concessions, responsibilities, and disappointments. You are the living embodiment of all that he has abandoned to become the man he is today. And being close to you is like going back in time, even if only in fantasy. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 40. What matters is that you don't carry the weight of his story. It wasn't there when he gave up the garage band to take the stable job. He didn't witness when he swallowed his pride and apologized to the idiot boss. He didn't see it when he realized that he would never be the successful entrepreneur he dreamed of being. For you, he can still pretend that all of these possibilities are alive. His wife, poor thing, witnessed every gradual death of his dreams. She knows that the startup never took off. She was there when the side project failed. She watched as he stopped talking about traveling the world and started complaining about his credit card bills. To look at it is to look at the graveyard of one's own ambitions. Each conversation is a silent reminder of all that he has not become. With you, he can resurrect the idealized version of himself. You can talk about future plans as if they were still feasible. It can act as if life is still full of endless options. You don't question it because you don't know the full story. And this ignorance on your part is liberating for him. You are a new audience for a play that he could no longer perform at home. There is also the brutal component of the passage of time. He looks in the mirror and sees gray hair, growing belly, energy decreasing. Each year that passes is a cruel reminder of mortality. But when you desire him, when you choose to be with him even though he's married, it acts as evidence that he's still young, he's still vital, he's still alive. You have become his talisman against aging and irrelevance. Each encounter is a temporary denial of the relentless reality of time. He can't let you go, because letting you go would be admitting that that young version, full of possibilities and potential, has died for good. It would be to accept that he became exactly the kind of average man he swore never to become. As long as you exist in his life, there is the illusion that there is still time. Time to start over. Time to be different. Time to accomplish what was left behind. You are not real future. You are fantasy of the future. And for a desperate man fleeing the unsatisfying present he has built, this fantasy is too valuable to be abandoned. 7. The cowardly escape from royal responsibilities. Being an adult is tiring. Paying bills, solving domestic problems, dealing with family members, making difficult decisions about raising children, facing marital conflicts, keeping the house running. All of this requires constant presence, emotional maturity, and the courage to face uncomfortable situations. And he's exhausted. Not of life, but of the responsibility to truly live. You are the amusement park he escapes to when the weight of real life becomes unbearable. With you, you don't need to discuss the family budget. You don't have to decide which school is best for the kids. You don't have to face the difficult conversation about why your wife is unhappy. With you, everything is light, fun, with no apparent consequences. Every hour he spends with you is an hour that he's not dealing with the emotional mess he's created at home. She is not having that conversation postponed for months about the direction of the marriage. It is not present in the crises of the children. It's not solving the leak in the kitchen or the problem with the bank account. He physically disappears for a date with you, but he's actually emotionally disappearing from the scary responsibilities. Men like this have a recognizable pattern. When life gets complicated, they disappear. They do not necessarily leave the house, but they are emotionally absent. They immerse themselves in work, hobbies, social media, or you. Anything serves as an excuse for not being present where they should be. And parallel relationships are especially effective in this function because they offer both distraction and moral justification for distancing. The wife notices that he is absent. Try to start a conversation, try to solve problems, try to reconnect. But he resists because truly connecting means facing uncomfortable truths. It means admitting that marriage needs work. It means growing emotionally. And all of this is too scary. So he invests energy in you, where everything is still superficial and easy. You probably interpret his attention as deep love. In fact, it is desperate escape. He's not running toward you. He's running away from the responsibilities he doesn't have the courage to face. And the more complex his life gets, the more intense his attachment to you becomes because you represent the only place where he can still pretend to be young, free, and without suffocating obligations. He can't let you go because letting you go means losing the outlet. It means having to fully return to the reality you have built and finally face it as a mature adult. It means to stop running away and start solving. And for an emotional coward, this is more terrifying than any consequence of betrayal. You're not the woman of his life. You are the temporary anesthesia that allows him to continue running away from his own life without feeling the pain completely. 8. The power game that feeds his narcissism. Deep down, deep inside this whole dynamic, there's a brutally simple truth. He likes to have power over you. He likes to know that he can show up after weeks and you will receive him. He likes to feel that he controls his emotions, his time, his hopes. You have become the territory where he exercises a narcissism that he probably cannot express anywhere else in life. Every time you forgive one more absence, one more lie, one more broken promise, you are sending a clear message. He can do whatever he wants and you will stay there. And for a narcissistic personality, this is pure food. It confirms the distorted belief that he is special, that he deserves different treatment, that the normal rules of reciprocity and respect do not apply to him. The wife has probably set boundaries a long time ago. She does not tolerate certain things. It requires minimum respect. It imposes consequences when it crosses lines. This is healthy, but for him it is frustrating. At home, he finds resistance to narcissism. With you, you find open countryside. You accept crumbs and call it a feast. You interpret indifference as complicated love. You forgive the unforgivable over and over again. Notice the pattern. He disappears when he wants, shows up when he needs to, dictates the terms of all dates, completely controls the narrative of the relationship. You, meanwhile, live in waiting, adapting to his availability, accepting the conditions imposed. This imbalance of power is not accidental. It's deliberate. Narcissists actively seek relationships where they can occupy a superior position. It feeds on your suffering more than you realize. Not in a conscious sadistic way, but in an automatic narcissistic way. When you cry because he is gone, when you beg for attention, when you show despair for his presence, all this confirms his importance. Your suffering is proof that it matters, that it has an impact, that it is powerful enough to emotionally destroy someone. And here's the most disturbing aspect. He needs you just as much as his wife, but for completely opposite reasons. The wife offers stability and social respectability. You offer emotional submission and narcissistic validation. The wife is the anchor. You are the mirror that reflects his greatness. One keeps life going. The other keeps the ego inflated. He can't let you go because you've become the gym where he exercises the narcissism muscle. Where else could there be someone completely available, waiting patiently, accepting anything, forgiving everything? The wife no longer offers this. Professional relationships have limits. True friends don't accept narcissistic behavior indefinitely. You are the only remaining space where he can be completely self-centered with no real consequences. As long as you continue in this role, you will feed the worst of him. And he in turn will suck up every ounce of validation you offer without ever feeling like you owe anything in return. Because in the narcissistic universe, he is the sun, and all the others are planets that must orbit around him. Letting it go won't just set you free. It will force you to confront that maybe, just maybe, not as special as you have always believed you to be. And that's exactly the reason why he'll fight so hard to keep you locked up.